Hello everybody, this is Shelly, and I thought that today I would show you how I made this card. This card is made with the Epic Celebrations stamp set from Stampin' Up. This is part of the Celebrations. I'm going to be using this stamp here and this one here. Some other products that I'll be using are the Shimmery White Embossing Paste. This is also available in our New Occasions catalog. I will be using Brusho Crystal Colors in Prussian Blue. I will be using the following items to make my card. The gingham ribbon. It looks like it's about 8.5 inches of that. We'll need a strip that's about 3/4 by 3.5 inches. This is where we'll build our texture on, and this one is shimmery white paper. And I use the shimmery white paper because it's a little bit thicker. It has a sheen over the top that helps to not allow the paper to warp as much as regular Whisper White cardstock. You could also use watercolor paper. I decided though if I want to make a lot of these cards, I don't have a lot of watercolor paper, and this is a good substitute. We will also need a backing paper. I'm using Dapper Denim cardstock cut at 4 by 5 1/4. And then we'll need a white card base. This is the thick cardstock. And this one is cut at 11 by 4 1/4 and then scored at 5 1/2. So it'll open up this way. We'll also be using an aqua painter or a paintbrush, whatever works for you. I'll have some water in the spray bottle. And that's about all. We also will be using Dapper Denim ink pad and part of a sponge. So the first thing that we'll want to do is create, let me reach here. We want to create the texture with the texture paste. If you haven't used the texture paste before, it's actually pretty easy to use. This is the shimmery one. It's white. It's a little runny, not runny, pasty. It just takes the smallest amount, maybe about like that. I'm going to lay a mask over the top. This is the brick wall mask. And I'm just going to apply it in this area over here. I don't want to do it all over, just up in here. So I'm going to put some of this on, and then I'm just going to go right over the mask. I might just take a little bit more. And that's about all I need, I think. This stuff dries pretty fast, about probably 10 to 15 minutes. But there you can see there's the texture. And it will dry pretty fast on your mask and your spatula, so you'll want to wash that off as fast as possible so it doesn't build up too much. So I'm going to go do that and let this dry, and I will be right back. Okay, I'm back now, and I went and cleaned off the mask and the spatula, and it's all ready to be used another time. Now, this is not the exact same one. This is a different one that I made that is completely dry. So I wanted to go ahead and continue. And so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Prussian Blue Brusho crystals. Now, when you first get these, what I would recommend doing is taking a thumbtack or a piercing tool and popping a hole in the top of this instead of pulling the whole lid off, because these crystals are so fine they will get everywhere. If you try to pop the lid off, you'll probably spill them all over the place, and you don't want to do that, believe me, because a little goes a very long way. So I've got a couple holes popped in the top of this, and I just keep them in their box so they don't spill out. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shake the crystals right onto the dry paper, and I don't really have any kind of plan with that, just getting it on there. And now comes the magic. Now I'm going to actually put down another piece of paper because this is, you can tell how much I've done this. And because I don't want to totally ruin my fresh page on my pad here. So I'll just use this one. And I'm just going to spray water, and it gets quite beautiful. And I like to go a little more. My water bottle's almost empty. But you'll see how it activates. Ooh, there we go. Okay, that's good. Now there's quite a lot of water on here, but I like it that way. I think it's interesting. And you can kind of tip it to do all kinds of different things. I'm just going to let that sit for just a second. And I'm going to take a tissue, because I don't want pools of ink everywhere. I'm just going to blot it just a bit here and there. That looks pretty good, like that. And it's buckling a little bit, but it's not too bad. But because I'm impatient, I'm also going to apply a little heat with my heat gun. So give me a minute while I do that. Okay, for the most part it's dry. It's still a little bit warped, but that's okay. We aren't concerned about that. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Memento black ink, and really you could use any ink at this point. That's the one I'm using. And this is the shoes. I'm just going to get a lot of ink on there. And right down in this corner right here, I'm going to stamp that on there. There it is. And while I have the ink open, I'm going to take my strip. I'm going to also stamp the sentiment on here. Make sure I do it right side up. Be about right here. Okay, just like that. And that's all the stamping that I'm going to do on this card. Okay, I'm going to continue to let that dry for a little bit, and then we will work on this card, on this side. So I want this to be, it's going to go on the card right here. So we'll probably make it about this long. So I'm going to take some scissors and cut that right there. And then we're going to flag it by cutting up here. Like that. And then we're going to take our Dapper Denim stamp pad. And I'm just going to take this sponge and I'm just going to kind of ink around the edges a little bit. Add some more interest and texture. And you'll notice I'm going off the paper and on, not starting here and going off, or you'll end up with too much ink in one area. We're going to do the same all around this. And it'll just Try not to shake the table too much here. I just laid my finger. That's one thing about this card in particular, is if you want to be neat and tidy, it's probably not the card for you. But if you don't mind getting a little messy, then you're doing the right one. Okay. And the nice thing about this texture paste is you can put the ink right on it. It actually works good. Okay, so I've kind of added a little around the edges. I'll set that aside for now. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is with the Brusho. This is something you can do, is just sprinkle a couple crystals of Brusho onto an acrylic block. And I'm going to take my blender pen, my aqua painter, and I'm just going to use it like a palette. And I mixed my paint here. You could mix the paint, but I'm just using this straight. And I'm just going to come in here and define the shoes a little bit more. Don't have to be perfect and precise. It's watercolor, so it's not going to look perfect and precise, but I think it's pretty cool looking. Okay. All right. Now we're getting real close to putting it all together. One thing that I like to use is a really strong adhesive when I have worked paper. So I actually use the Fast Fuse right now because it's super sticky. You could use the tape. You could probably use real glue. Regular snail adhesive, I'm not sure that it would stay bonded as well as we want it to, but just all things to consider. But I'm going to mount this onto this paper here. If you happen to have a patterned paper that's Dapper Denim, great. This is from a paper pack, but I used it all, so I didn't have any more. But I think it looks just as good with just the solid Dapper Denim. So I'm going to use generous amounts of the Fast Fuse to make sure I don't have anything buckling up on me. So I'm just going to go all the way around the card, and one down the middle for good measure. And I'm going to stick that right on my card base. Just be careful because Fast Fuse, it's just what it says. It's fast. And you might be sorry that you laid something down a little too fast, but there you go. And now I'm going to take this and I'm going to put the ribbon down. So what I did was I just overlapped this, stuck it about right here, and then this went right on top. And I have like a mini staple. You could use a regular size staple if you wanted to, or a brad, or anything that works for you. That's that. Now I'm going to trim this just a little bit, now that I've got it on here, like so. And now we're going to Fast Fuse it again. And this is going to go right on top of our card base. And there you have it. It's done. And each time you use the Brusho, you're going to get a different result. As you can see, this one's a little bit more blended. I probably blotted, I used it a little bit more. I left this one a little bit more speckly, but they still are very fun. And it just depends on how it turns out. So anyway, I hope that you found this helpful and like this card. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to answer them. Have a wonderful day.